you know his face. Or at least the mask. Black hood. Heavy axe. Cold hands. No words. But here's what you don't know about the executioner. He lived among the people he killed. And most nights, he slept alone. He was wealthy, protected by law, but untouchable in another way, cursed by the very justice he delivered. He couldn't buy bread, he couldn't draw water, and God forbid, he tried to marry your daughter. This is the story of the men who carried out society's darkest orders and paid for it with their lives. This is hidden by time. In theory, the executioner was necessary. He carried out the law, he kept the peace, but in practice, he was despised. In medieval Europe, no one volunteered to be an executioner. So what did towns do? They forced criminals into the role. In 14th century Germany, a thief might be told, "You can hang, or you can hang others." If he chose the axe, he received a house, a salary, and legal immunity. But he also inherited a lifetime of isolation. People believed death clung to him like smoke, that even his touch carried spiritual pollution. He could not buy from the town baker. He could not drink from the public well. He could not sit with neighbors at table. The man who enforced justice became an outcast. And the curse didn't stop with him. It spread to his children. Even if they never touched an axe, even if they never stood on a scaffold, their blood was marked. Executioners' daughters found it almost impossible to marry. Sons were barred from church office. Families forced to intermarry with other executioner clans. In Nuremberg, Vienna, and Paris, executioner dynasties lasted for centuries. Families trapped in the only job they were allowed. In some cases, daughters married other executioners to preserve what little standing they had. In others, families lived on the edge of towns, branded for generations. Imagine a child growing up, knowing they'd never escape the shadow of the blade, not because of crime, but because of a profession. Cities began to build walls around them, literally. In Bamberg, Germany, executioners lived in a district called the Schinderhof, separated from the rest of town. Locals left food outside their gates. No one knocked. No one visited. Even their children were banned from school, so they taught themselves. They passed down knowledge of anatomy, of law, of ritual. The streets they walked had no names. The friendships they made rarely left their walls. It was a life apart, a village of death inside a city of the living. Ever wonder why executioners wore hoods? It wasn't just for drama. It was for survival. If the crowd recognized him, he risked more than insults. Stone, spit, beatings. The mask became a shield, protecting what little dignity remained. Some even wore gloves, so they wouldn't pollute anything they touched. And when they died, many were buried outside church cemeteries, too unclean for holy ground. The mask hid more than a face. It hid a curse. And yet, here's the paradox. Executioners were not only killers, they were healers. Because of their work, they knew the human body better than most. They set bones, they pulled teeth, they treated infections, they brewed medicines. In many towns, if you were sick or injured, the executioner was the one who could help you. Patients whispered their thanks and locked their doors behind him. He was despised in public, but indispensable in private. A man with two faces, one feared, one needed. One executioner stands out, Franz Schmidt of Nuremberg. From 1573 to 1617, he executed 394 people. But he also left behind a journal. And his records are not cruel. They are precise, respectful, almost mournful. Schmidt didn't boast of death. He described it like duty, work to be done and lived with. Outside the scaffold, he practiced medicine. He healed countless townsfolk, treated wounds, even performed surgeries. And when he died in 1634, the city mourned him quietly. They had feared him, but they had needed him. By the 18th and 19th centuries, executioners began to vanish. Public executions fell out of favor, but the stigma remained. Descendants changed their names. They moved to new cities, buried their family histories. Because who would want to marry the granddaughter of a hangman? Who would want to dine with the son of the axe? The job was gone, but the curse lingered. So next time you imagine the man in the black hood, don't just think of death. Think of the life that followed. The meals eaten alone, the children shunned in schools, the families marked for generations. Justice had a face, but it was a face no one wanted to see. And behind every blade was a man who carried all of society's sentences and lived with them too. This was hidden by time. If you found this story chilling, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and explore our other videos. Because history's darkest corners are often the ones we tried hardest to forget.